Imagine this. You are the richest man alive, the wisest man who ever walked the earth. You have a palace that took 13 years to build. You have gold, silver, horses, vineyards, servants, and 1,000 women. And yet, at the end of your life, you pick up a pen and you write 4 words that haunt people to this very day. Everything is completely meaningless. That man was King Solomon, and his story is one of the strangest, saddest, and most honest things ever recorded in human history. Solomon was the 3rd king of ancient Israel. He ruled from around 970 to 931 BCE, nearly 3,000 years ago. He was the son of King David, and from the very beginning, he was different. When God appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "Ask for whatever you want," most men would have asked for money, or power, or long life. But Solomon asked for one thing only: wisdom. And God was so impressed that he gave Solomon wisdom unlike any human being before him or after him. The Bible records in 1 Kings chapter 4 that people came from every nation on earth just to hear him speak. He composed over 3,000 proverbs. He wrote over 1,000 songs. He was extraordinary. But then something went very, very wrong. Solomon did not fall suddenly. He fell slowly, quietly, one compromise at a time. It started with politics. In the ancient world, when kings wanted peace with neighboring nations, they made alliances, and the way you sealed an alliance was by marrying the king's daughter. So Solomon married the daughter of Pharaoh of Egypt, then a princess from Moab, then from Edom, then from Sidon, then from the Hittites, and it kept going. By the time it was over, the Bible records in 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 3, Solomon had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines. That is 1,000 women living in his palace. Now here is what makes this fascinating from a historical perspective. Scholars note that those 700 royal wives were not just romantic relationships. Each one represented a political treaty with a foreign nation. Solomon was essentially managing 1,000 diplomatic relationships through marriage. In Solomon's old age, his wives turned his heart toward other gods. He began worshiping Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites. The Bible says, in his old age, Solomon's heart was no longer fully devoted to God, as his father David's heart had been. The wisest man alive forgot the source of his wisdom. Solomon wrote 3 books in his lifetime, and scholars notice something remarkable about the order. In his youth, he wrote the Song of Solomon, a passionate, romantic poem about love. In his middle years, he wrote Proverbs, practical, confident wisdom for daily life. And in the twilight of his life, he wrote Ecclesiastes, a book so dark, so brutally honest that many people are shocked it is even in the Bible. Ecclesiastes opens with these words, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." The Hebrew word used here is hebel, which means vapor or breath, something you try to grab and your hands are empty. Solomon goes through everything he tried. He built great projects. He planted vineyards and gardens. He accumulated silver and gold. He gathered singers and musicians and pleasures of every kind. He says in chapter 2, verse 10, "I did not deny myself anything my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure." And then, immediately after, he says, "Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind." The man who had everything, literally everything a human being could want, looked at it all and said, "It means nothing." But here is where it gets interesting. Here is the part most people miss. Ecclesiastes is not a book of despair. It is a book of honesty, because Solomon does not end the book in darkness. He ends it with one of the simplest, most profound conclusions ever written. Chapter 12, verse 13. "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of mankind." After testing every possible source of meaning, wealth, pleasure, wisdom, work, power, love, Solomon comes back to the same starting point, the one thing he abandoned, the one thing he traded away for 1,000 diplomatic marriages. And this is what makes Solomon's story so deeply relevant today, because we are living in the most connected, most entertained, most distracted generation in human history. We have more options than Solomon ever did, more pleasures, more content, more things to chase. And yet, depression, anxiety, and emptiness are at record highs. Maybe Solomon was not writing about the ancient world. Maybe he was writing about right now. Solomon had 700 wives, unmatched wisdom, unlimited wealth, and the favor of God himself. And he still ended up writing the most honest confession of emptiness in all of human literature. So let me ask you something. And I want you to think about this seriously. If the wisest, wealthiest man who ever lived could not find meaning in everything the world offers, what exactly are we chasing? Leave your answer in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this made you think differently about something you already knew, share it with one person. Because sometimes the oldest stories carry the answers we're looking for right now.